Hello and welcome back to Pixel Perfect, episode 58. As always, my name is Vocata, and we are back up and running. And oh, did you see a little bit of lag there? Yeah. So we'll talk about that here in a moment. We just want to quickly go over what we're going to do today. We are, of course, working towards turbo bars, which is a thing that we've been kind of gearing up towards for the past several episodes. And there was a little bit here of a delay between episodes that centered around update 8 coming up on experimental, and we really wanted to jump on it. But then the Unreal Engine 5 update, of course, broke the mod manager and all the mods and all that stuff. And, you know, it took time for the modding community to be able to get that all up and going. They did a fantastic job. There's no shade thrown on them at all. I maintain that this game has the most incredible modding community I've ever seen in any game. But that did kind of push us back on the schedule. And then there was a couple mods that kind of lagged behind on getting updated, and one that never got updated at all. And so I kind of pushed it back, and then, well, you know, we got a little distracted on some stuff. But here we are, we're back. We're back up and running, and in fact, last weekend we had a live stream, which was our first time on Update 8. We are on the experimental branch, but the reason we are is because, well, you know, I mentioned that there's some lag in here. You can see that a little bit when we move around. And when I loaded it up, part of it is that Update 8 forgot all of my settings. And over time, we had tweaked all the, you know, visual effects and whatnot so that it would run smoothly. And that's just something that we're going to have to get back to. But also, I've noticed that everywhere else in the game world is fine. It's just here at home. So I don't want to go too extreme on, you know, lowering detail or whatnot, if this is literally going to be the only area that is having some frame loss. So it's something that's just going to have to work on over time. We'll get there. Just be patient with me. I appreciate it. But that's, what are we going to do today? Well, a couple of things. Again, we had a live stream, and the live stream was extremely productive. And I also feel like it was really informative for, you know, maybe for people who get overwhelmed by these large-scale projects. And you know, it's real easy when you watch content creators who already have, we're being attacked by something? It's really easy when you watch content creators and you kind of see the final product of a project come together, but you don't see the, you know, the little stuff that they went through. And the live stream is really good at illustrating this is how you can break it down into small parts and not get overwhelmed, and how you can make decisions on where are we going to get the resources from, which areas work best for our, you know, current setup, as well as how to look at running new rail line and running the foundations for them, and how to establish new trains and everything. So I think it's very good for showing that kind of background work that goes into it. And you know, we had to do a lot of thinking on the fly, and so you get to see that thought process. But today I do want to just hit those areas real quick. Like, we're probably going to take a quick look at the spreadsheet just so you understand what we're targeting. I don't think we're going into it too much detail. And then I want to take you to see the actual build area. Now, we didn't do any building on it in the live stream. I do want to get some of the foundational work done in the actual build site, probably get some train stations down. And I think you're going to love it because it is so cool. It is so super cool. And one more thing, if we have time, I want to stop by the space elevator manufacturing area because I think that we have a finished product there waiting for us, probably ready to start something else. So I would really like to get that running while we're doing all these projects. So let's move on, and I'm going to go get the train stocked up, get on the road, and I will catch you guys on site. All right, well, instead of traipsing all the way across the map, I decided first we're going to stop by the space elevator area. But first, I'm going to show you a little clip of something that we did between episodes. All right, gang. This is a pre-recorded little clip here. I'm in between episodes 57 and 58. You know, we often do off-camera stuff between episodes to prepare for the next episode. And while I was doing so on this one, unfortunately the train station got deadlocked again despite all of our changes, probably because we added another train That got cut out in the previous episode, but there's another whole train coming here now. Anyway, it was time to create a more drastic solution. I'll probably go over this in the actual episode, but this thing is going to be done before I start the episode, so I want to show you what it looked like before it was done. And here it is. We are changing the exit out, so we'll talk about that in the episode, but this is the scaffolding for the train loop, and this is a one-way. It's only an exit. And this has been a pain and quite time-consuming to build and design. See, I have power going down the middle so I could hover pack. And we had to actually change the grade of the spiral because of this spine getting in the way. So it actually compresses the loop and then comes down. And see there's leftover bits for linking to. And then it moves on. So I just want to show you guys this. By the time you see it in the episode, it'll be cleaned up and decorated and should look a lot less weird. And there shouldn't be all this clipping. Anyway, back to the episode. So yeah, we built a train spiral. It's something that I've never really wanted to do. Kind of wanted not to do, in fact. And not because, they feel cheaty or anything like that. They don't feel. I hesitate to say this. They don't feel realistic. But I compromised on this case because that one will only be used for going downhill. And if you can only imagine a fully loaded train trying to go up a spiral like that, I mean, there's a limit to my suspension of disbelief. But going downhill, sure, still unrealistic because, the brakes and what it would take to manage that. But I'm okay with it. And it has worked out amazingly well. So I'm actually quite happy with it. Ooh, where are we on this? Did we already move forward on our project? Why are you guys all here? Let me check the spreadsheet real quick. Okay, so I was a dum-dum. It looks to me like I was a dum-dum. So, getting back up to speed. We made the adaptive control units. Looks like we were just ready to finish off this tier because the assembly director system is what we need 4,000 of. That is one of the final parts. So it's the final step. We just need adaptive control units. And it looks like we set up all of these ready to go. We even had a dump off for them. And here are all of our adaptive control units. And they were set to go out. And I just didn't connect them. Oh boy. All right, so yeah, let's do that right now. Oh boy. All right, this goes down to here. That goes down to here. Okay, so I guess we're not ready for the next part of the elevator. This should all run itself out. We're looking at 1.5 per minute. So all these together is not going to be over the 60 per minute of the Mark 1s that we just set. So I'm just going to let it run. And I guess we'll come back probably next episode. Or maybe on the live stream and see where we are on this. So, all right, space elevator addressed. I'm glad we came out here and checked for that because it was just not running. Okay, well, let's start off across the map. And while we are doing that, we are going to take a very quick as reasonable, look at the spreadsheet just to get up to speed onto where we are, what we're doing here. So let's take a look. Da-da-da, spreadsheet. Okay, here we are on the space elevator tab. Turbo motors or motors. All right. Now, I'm not going to go over all this real quick. You guys, if you've been watching, you're familiar with how I automate all of this stuff. You know, everything's a formula. So, you know, none of this needs to be addressed. It's just, it all automatically figures itself out once you have, you know, everything done. I just want to give you the kind of approach and what we have to do here. So what I did on this one is, of course, I took the final product, the turbo motors, which we're using this alternate for. We'll require motors, pressure conversion cubes, packaged nitrogen, and stators. And I created a block for each one of these. That way we could just, you know, isolate what this one thing is. This is breaking down the project so that it's more manageable. And we're going to do everything more or less in-house on this one build, except for the pressure conversion cubes. You know, we have our manufacturing area back at home that's making these two items. We're not doing that over again from the ground up because we don't need these for anything else. So these will be imported, though the cubes will be made on site. But if we look at like the motors, we are going to do motors from scratch. Copper sheeting, screws, steel beams, this is all going to be done in-house. We're not pulling from any existing supplies. And you can see, in order to break this down, to make it more manageable, I put down, you know, all the different recipes I had for the things that are needed, right? We need rotors for motors. So I put down, you know, both of the rotor recipes that I have. And then I grayed out the one that I eventually decided I wasn't going to use. But this allowed me to kind of look over the numbers and see where things are going to be required, what kind of resources I might need. And it helped me figure out what we're going to go with. And so this is, you know, this is going to be it, right? And this lets us, you know, determine how many machines we're going to need of each type, our total resources required for income. And I, you know, broke all that down over here. And of course, those are all formulas. And I did the same for stators, both for stator recipes, all the things that we're going to do here. And one of the things that kind of caught me off guard was the packaged nitrogen. I was a dum-dum. I forgot or didn't realize that the packaging for nitrogen doesn't use regular canisters, but instead it uses empty fluid tanks, which take aluminum. And I really debated on how we're going to get the aluminum because we've already built 2 aluminum production areas. And we could have stolen aluminum ingots from our secondary area that we're just producing aluminum casings from. But then we would have had to disable some of the machines making casings, and then other things wouldn't have been necessary. And, you know, I didn't want to do that. So we are going to do in-house aluminum on a small scale. I went ahead and did all this to figure out how much it's going to actually require. And it wasn't too bad. You know, when we look at the amount of bauxite we're going to need, let's see where we have bauxite, only 200. That's one node, not a big deal. So we're going to go check out where we're going to get that from. It's not going to require a whole lot of water. Where are we at? 200 water, not a big deal. So this is all going to work out real well for us. Let's turn off the spreadsheet here. All right. And I don't want to stick around here too long. So we are at our new copper and iron facility. And I kind of wanted to show you what we did here. So it's just standard stuff, right? We have a miner for each because it's not too much demand. Brought it up over here. It's kind of unforgiving terrain, so we didn't want to take our rail all the way to it, but that's not a big deal. They're just right down here. And in these cases, we're going to want actual Mark III miners, but we can't make them yet because they require turbo motors. And sure, we could handcraft them, but you know, we have the no handcrafting for progress rule. We could kind of fudge it, but we're not going to. At the facility we're making our turbo motors, so we can overclock Mark IIs, and then later we'll come back and just replace them with Mark IIIs. But we put this down over here next to our battery factory, and I kind of wanted to show you, you know, the decision we made because this worked out real well. Look on the map. Boy, this is a busy map, isn't it? Okay, where are we? We are right here. we had our battery stuff going right here and those stations. So we already had a line coming up here. So we just kind of split off, wound our way up here, and these two nodes were right by each other, two pure nodes, made it nice and easy. There's a bunch of other junk nodes. We just didn't want these, right? These are all impure. We could have used them, but I just didn't want to. So I didn't. So this, getting this up here was kind of challenging. All right, so real quick here. There might have been a weird cut there. Being the pro that I am, I kind of lost the footage after this part. Oh yeah, the whole episode's done. I was in editing and realized that this whole part just didn't exist. Mr. Bean, would you please get off my trip? Never mind, you can stay. So I am attempting to recreate what we went over at this part. So if the if the storyline is a little off, please do forgive me. But I wanted to talk about this rail line here, and I mean, it probably doesn't look very spectacular, right? It looks like any other rail line. It looks like it might maybe take some squiggles that it doesn't necessarily have to, but it kind of does have to. And this was a big deal in the live stream when we had to come up with this. We had to map this out, and we had to do a lot of deleting and rebuilding and deleting and rebuilding to get this the platforms to come out just right. Because say over here we have this ramp coming up. If it didn't level off soon enough, we didn't have enough range to do our flat. Here we go, flat platforms forward without it going into the hill over here. And it takes a certain amount of space in order to make a turn. We were trying to do a 90-degree S turn because a 90-degree S turn doesn't have to go as far forward than doing this little curve, because the curve doesn't go over quite as fast. But with a little encouragement from a viewer, in the live stream, we went ahead and gave it a try, and it worked out. We got the curve in just right, and managed to start going back up again, reascending. And we made a tight turn right here. There is a minimum amount of space, and we kind of overshot where we wanted to be able to go over here. But if we had gone straight earlier, we would have run into this hill right here. You can see how close it is, and in fact, we are clipping a little bit with the terrain. We could had avoided this, but when we first did it, I was like, hey, wait a minute, this looks like, the land is settled, and there's been a little bit of a landslide, and it's run over the rails and stuff, and this looks good. I like this. It builds it into the terrain. So we actually kept this on purpose. And then we needed to take a little dido over here because, we have a hill right here getting in the way, and we needed to align this station as far over as we could so that we could actually get away with doing this little U-turn here. So all of this is kind of by the numbers. It's at the minute we can't go one way or another at all. And again, a lot on the live stream was walking through that logic, showing the trial and error, and coming eventually to a final product that we wanted. And I'm extremely happy with this. It came out perfect. And again, this is splitting off of the line from the batteries. And that was also perfect because it meant we didn't have to make a new merger with the main line. We could just split off of that one. That's perfect indeed. So we're going to go over here to our next set of miners. That will be for the project. You can see it's not very far away. This station here is going to supply our caterium that we're going to need for some quick wire. And a little over there somewheres is a coal mine that is going to be what we're going to need for some steel. Oh, a little brakes a little late. For some steel and for the bauxite or the aluminum as well. So this station, we got a little bit there on the edge. We've got a kind of a temporary little support system here. I think I'm going to come back and maybe adjust it a little bit, but just to make it not as floating out over the void, because it really is over the void. And we, it's nice. It was nice. We were able to tuck it away here and use these resources that are kind of in, no man's land, that you're not really going to get to use for anything else. And it's perfect because it's right next to our site. But we're going to move on to the next site. Nothing else to see here, and we're going to jump back to the already existing recording. All right, and there is one more node that I want to show you guys that, honestly, this is just the coolest. I'm saving the best for last because we are going to use something we haven't used yet, and we get to play around with something that's new in Update 8. And here we are, right back at where we were a moment ago, sort of. We are now at the battery factory, right? Right up there was the new copper and iron facility. But we need something from here. Stop. We gotta back it up a little bit. We're gonna take up that area. We don't want that. And there we go. Okay. Perfect. So if you don't remember this, this is our bird aviary battery area where, you know, after we kind of committed to building here, we realized that the gigantic moth flies through this area, and so we ended up turning it into a pseudo tree just to kind of make him feel a little bit more at home, and made our batteries here. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here for the batteries. We're here for where is it? Looky. So this is a new feature in Update 8, these gigantic power towers. These are really cool. In fact, I wanted to, since this is the last one in the chain, I want to change it to one that has the little walkway on it here. And on the live stream, we picked up a toy that we never used because I always felt like it was too limited, but they've upgraded it. It's a little bit better now. Right here. What are we going to put over? I'll put over the chainsaw. And this allows us to ride on electrical wires. Before, it was a real pain because you'd have to jump off of it and then jump back on the next one every time you went past like one of those nodes. In fact, you still do have to. But with these, we can just ride it. This is so cool. And you can see the incredible distance that these lines can go, making it super easy to run power really long distances. And this is what we're taking advantage of to get our bauxite. And, you know, I didn't really want to run a train all the way up, you know, because we're going all the way up there, right? You can see the tower way up there. And sure, we can always, you know, ramp and get a train all the way up there. But I didn't want to do that. In fact, I've always kind of reserved the middle of the map and the pink forest area for a different mode of transportation. Ow. All right, here we are. We got the new site. Oh, pardon me, sir. Looky. We have a drone port. That's right, we are finally going to use drones. And that's kind of what I was reserving this area for, you know, just in general. So that if we want to tackle any resources that are up in this area, we're just gonna use drones. And I like it, you know, it gives us a reason to use the drones because drones are super cool. And, you know, with the new power lines, it was way easier to get power out here. And it's perfect. It's perfect for this area. This one bauxite node is the only one we're going to need. Right now, it's producing 240 per minute. In fact, we only needed 200, right? Let's fix that while we're here. Thank you, spreadsheet. And, you know, we have a little bit of a buffer here. That way, you know, if we find that the delivery rate isn't fast enough with one drone, we can have more than one drone. We have a second one or third one. And we want to be able to make sure that the supply is in the station as quickly as possible so that if two drones arrive back to back, one doesn't get a partial load. And that's the reason for doing a buffer here and then having a Mark V, should be a Mark V, yeah, Mark V belt to import it straight into the station as quickly as possible, and then this can backfill later on. So that's a solid strategy. It's something you want to do when you're setting up that kind of situation. Of course, if it really came down to it, we could put a second station and we could split the feed, but we won't have a problem with producing enough fast enough because We only need 200 per minute. It's just a matter of whether or not we can do the delivery. Oh, oh, oh. You know, we should have this on. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do something else first. So you might see we are jetpacking like crazy because with update, with update 8, with update 8, we now can use turbo fuel for our jetpacks, which is awesome. And yes, I do know that I turned around. I turned around for a reason. I'm still getting used to using this thing. And I didn't actually want to use it coming back down because there is another thing that has changed in update 8. And it's a toy that we never played with because honestly it was useless before. Let's put this away. There we go. The parachute. So in case you haven't seen the notes on update 8, you know, the parachute previously was a one-use item, and it was pretty terrible. It was just, if you fell off of even a small ledge, it wasn't even dangerous, it could auto-deploy and use itself up. And you didn't really get much distance on it. Well, they made it redeployable now, so it's no longer a one-shot item, which is awesome. But they also made it like super duper controllable, and we can pretty much glide across the map. So I'm not pushing anything right now. But you can see if I push forward, woo, we really pick up speed. And let me look at this. I can go all over the place. I can strafe, and we're losing basically no height. The glide plane is, I would say, overly generous. So we could easily make it, you know, to the place where we're going and probably back and forth a couple of times. So honestly, you know, from a balancing perspective, I think they may be overbalanced it just a bit. But, you know, if it works better for us, who are we to complain? The only real thing I would like to see changed about it is that we can't like dive. You know, if I'm pointing downwards, we don't start to descend more quickly. And if I crouch, this happens. Ah! And then I just have to redeploy it. So we can't kind of angle downwards to get you know, a quicker descent rate. All we could do is just put away the parachute and plummet. It's a little unnerving, but you know, it gets the job done, I guess. All right, so we're going to get to our train, and we are going to head to the build site for the actual project. And if you haven't picked up where this is, because, you know, we've talked about it before where I planned on building. And I don't know what we're going to have for a thumbnail today, but the thumbnail for the live stream definitely gave it away if you didn't see the live stream. And the live stream itself gave it away. So this may not be a surprise to you, but we're still going to go and we're going to take a look at it and marvel at it and actually try to put down some stations and prepare for its actual use. Let's put a pack back on and let's start driving. All right, here we are. Now, this intersection is not very pretty. It's because we don't have enough space to do it cleanly, but this is a temporary station. This is our job site for you know, the project, and we might end up moving this down to the actual site because, you know, we're going to place stations down. But for now, this is our starting location, and we have a hypertube to get us to the location. So the location. First of all, you can see we went with another spiral. It's only one way. It's going down. We're not going to do a two-way thing. But this is the job site. Isn't it cool? Oh, I have been waiting so long to do this project and to use this site. You can see coming up out of the mist, the ramp. This is the train returning. All this will be gone. This was just kind of measuring when we were doing the initial setup of it. I did this off camera to make sure that this really was viable, and I knew it was going to take me time to really kind of center where I was going to want the tower or the towers to be. And so I did this before the live stream But basically just, you know, ran out to a place I felt was, you know, a good kind of centering location for the effect that we wanted to get, because we want to be out in the waterfall. There it is, but we need to be far enough away from it to give ourselves some room to actually build. And I wanted to be far enough over to really just kind of be part of the mist and the void. So you can see this is a pretty good distance from all of the sides. I ended up kind of a little bit closer to this side because I wanted to be roughly near the waterfall as opposed to out in the endless mist. But this will all go away pretty soon. I just left it out here because I wanted to show you, you know, what we were doing and how we kind of got to it. But you know what? Let's do this. Geronimo! Just dive into the mist. All right, I don't know where the bottom is, so let's go ahead and deploy. Woo! This is a little dangerous. We need a landmark. We need a landmark. Okay, there we go. There we go. I could have missed this whole thing and just fell into the void. That would have been embarrassing. Yeah, so you can see it's starting to come out of the mist. This is our center block. This is, you know, if we could look up, this is the thing we were just standing on. There we go. You can see it's too high up now, which is good. This is what we want. We want to not be able to see the skyline. And we want to not be able to see everything. You can see the render distance kind of cuts off because the mist is just too thick. And so the rail line comes down here, and for the moment, you know, I almost jumped, but this doesn't work as a jetpack, or it doesn't work as a glider until we already had power. So let's go over here. It just, right now it just comes down and loops and goes right back up. But we can alter this real easily. We can easily push this back. We can have this line where it comes down. We can make this jump. So we could have this go at a steeper grade. Like that right there can go down at a 4 grade instead of a 2, which would get it down here sooner and allow us to turn sooner, and that means we'd be able to start the flat rail way earlier. We could also carry that a little bit further over that way so that it gets down further, and then we have more room for a flat rail. And once it's flat, then that's when we can start doing, you know, the split offs for the rail stations and whatnot. And we can also have this go straight and keep going and have this be a turn in, because I think what we're going to do is we're going to do a tower right there and a tower right here. And I haven't drawn this out yet. Let's see. There we go. Zoop. But the idea would be that we have a tower on either side. And so that rail could just go straight and can come over here. And this can all be stations. And I figure we're going to have 4 or 5 stations. I want to try to avoid doing double duty on the stations so that we don't really have the backup of them. And that way we can also make them a little bit shorter. So I think that we will end up going with probably 3 long stations. Let's do something right here. Just as a quick idea, get us an idea of where we can get away with this. Let's do it from the front. If we click, T, right? I don't know, was it not T? No. I remapped it. In, I think. In for nudge. This is a new feature, so I think that's gonna be the right spot. I'm gonna hit in. All right, look, it's oh, so good. It's locked into place. And now I can use arrow keys. Oh, I got to get used to using this because this is super useful. You know, I spend so much time trying to line things up, and you know, when they're especially large objects, and we can do this. Although I had it right this right on the first time, but then we can. Are we out of materials or something? We're out of concrete. That's okay. That's okay. But we can. Let's reclaim our concrete that we just used here that we didn't need to use. I just wanted to illustrate what we were going to do. Our train is up above us, of course, and it has the concrete that we need on it. And for now, I'm just going to do, let's just do empty platforms. Because we're just measuring this out. Oh, look at that. That's so good. And I think that 3 long is going to be all we need. And we probably won't even need 3, but that's going to be the best I think that we're going to need. And we'll be able to split off of these rails and come in here. Let's hope that we have enough. Oh, we only have 7. We'll be a little cheesy here. There should be a connection point somewhere. Somewhere? Please? Daringly jumping over the void. Okay, let's break this up a little bit. Where is a line? Where is a line? There's a line. And this doesn't be, I'm not counting this out. This is not pixel perfect. I'm kind of cheesing this a little bit. So station 26. Timetables. Edit timetable? And who needs, wait a minute. What do you mean next stop is unreachable? How's it unreachable? It's reachable. I promise this is reachable. Now, it can't leave. All right, hold please. I suspect that the issue is that because we didn't connect it to an outwards area, that there is a blocking signal somewhere that is hard red. But it should still drive up to whatever blocking signal is on red, rather than just say that there's no way there. All right, we have technically reached the station. Okay, well, you know, we just kind of did this out of spite, to be honest. We don't actually need to have our train down here. But this is going to allow us to start to kind of map out, you know, how viable is it to place, you know, all the stations just like maybe literally right here. Or, you know, do we need to move that out and backwards? Because what we'll have to be able to do is make an exit, right? That is going and turning. And we know we need 3 blocks. I know these colors are going to be off because I have the custom colors set to be dark, but don't worry about that. 1, 2, 3 blocks. This is the sharpest turn we can make. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. Let's mark that. Can I be nudged? Okay. So the general idea would be that we would have, you know, maybe another station over here which would turn and merge with this line for the exit. And then, you know, possibly on the other building, we would have more of them coming in. You know, they would turn inwards. Or we run all of them over there and then turn them around and come up with up the ramp. Now that would be a little bit loosey-goosey there, because to do a U-turn we need 6 blocks wide and we only have 3 here. But it's okay, right? This can be moved over a little bit, or it can curve. As you can see, we can't really move this over anymore because we're running into rock here. But you know, that's the process, right? That's how we figure out how we're going to do this. And I'm liking it. I think this is pretty good. for centering things, because if this is our center block right here, we're building around this block. This more or less centers the stations. Right, we could maybe push the station back a little bit, but not really much, right? Maybe one block. Because if this is going to be, actually this is going to be the front freight car, and then the second freight car, this is perfect. This puts them almost right in the middle. Let's line this up with the station. Oh. Yeah, this is good. This is good. I like this. This is where we want it. Because we are going to have potentially up to 3 cars on a maybe a train or 2. Most of them will only be 2. But this gives us the pretty easy space to center this and have the material go up on either side. So I think this is pretty good. If we needed to, we could move it all back one, but I don't think I want to. I think I like this. So for now, I think we're going to go with this. There's going to be, potential changes in the future because we already know how many machines we need of the various types. We haven't mapped out where they're going to be in the building, on what floors we're going to put them on, and that's going to affect the dimensions of the actual floors. So, eventually this could turn out to be a much larger square. It could be a smaller one, probably not smaller, but who knows? And somewhere down here, we're going to have a drone port because we need to bring the bauxite in. But we want to bring the bauxite pretty far down because I want the drone to disappear into the mist, do its thing, and then I want the dramatic rising of the drone up out of the mist. Like the classic Star Trek stuff. They always find a way for the Enterprise to fall into an atmosphere or into a ridiculously heavy clouded nebula, then they rise dramatically out of it and the gas falls away from it. That's what I want from our drones, as well as, of course, the trains coming up out of the mist. So that was the whole point. I also want this tower to be large enough to poke up out of the mist. I want this to go up above sea level. So we should be able to drive by and see that these are buildings that disappear into the mist. So we don't want to make the floors too large because we don't want to cram everything down here and then not have enough floors to get our effect. So that's going to be a lot of planning, though we're probably going to do a lot of that on live stream. So be sure to keep your eye out for the upcoming live stream, probably next weekend. We'll see how things go, but most likely next weekend. So I'm going to drop down some stations real quick and I think then we will probably wrap it. All right, there we are. We got 5 stations fitting down here quite comfortably. And it's entirely possible that maybe we'll have this floor for the receiving area of all the trains be larger than the actual footprint of the buildings. And that's fine with a larger base than the building above it. We'll see how that kind of works out in the future. But I'm happy with the spacing of this. I think it looks out pretty good. And I had to run a line over here to make sure I didn't fall off. And it would just be a matter of drawing this out. Like I said, I think that we can go pretty easily with having a line for an exit going across. And there should be enough space over here to do like a U-turn of some sort for them to come back out. I'm going to play with it a little bit, figure out how I want the exit to be, and decide, finally if this is exactly how I want these. But I think that is going to be about it. We're gonna back out of here because that middle station actually connects perfectly. All right, and we're back at home. I'm probably gonna cut out my approach to the building because, like I said earlier, the area here is real frame lossy, and with it loading, it's even worse. So I think I dipped down to single digits on frames for a bit there. Oh, unfortunately, like I said, this is the only area this happens in, and that's bad news. I'm sure that these particle effects aren't helping. But anyway, thank you very much for coming out. Thank you for coming back. Again, we're going to tentatively live stream on this coming Sunday and continue this project. and we will be making progress in earnest, because basically all the groundwork is done. We need some minor stuff that still needs to be established, water supply and whatnot, but it's going to come down to now the planning of working out how large the floors are going to be, and it's really going to help enable us to actually start building out the structure and start getting machines down. And so, you know, the beginning at least of the stream is going to be us working out our plan together. It's great when you guys are present because we can bounce ideas off of each other. You know, when we have a group discussion, typically that is better for everything. So be sure to stop by, see how things are going, and always love to have your feedback. And that also means, of course, in the comment section. But again, thank you so very much for coming out. It's always a pleasure. But if you enjoyed this, be sure to leave a like on your way out. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. If you enjoyed this, you may want to check out one of these other videos. And thank you very much for your time.